Hello everyone, I am Simone and welcome to my channel. Today we will talk about the extraordinary life of a man that, from a small town in Italy close to Naples, ended up fighting under Napoleon, serving the Persian Shah, and traveling all the way to India, taking part of the growing of the Sikh empire of Maharajah Ranjit Singh. There, he became notable for having subdued the tumultuous Pashtuns and played an important role in the First Anglo-Afghan War. His name was Paolo Avitabile, or, for the Pashtuns, Abu Tabela, a name that for them still carries today an enormous load of mystery and horror, having been one of the few men capable of keep under control these proud and combative people. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it and subscribe to my channel. Paolo Crescenzo Martino Avitabile was born in Agerola, near Naples, in 1791, from a humble family. At 16, he enlisted as a gunner in the new Franco-Napolitan army of Joachim Murat, ruler of the Kingdom of Naples, created after Napoleon's conquest of Italy. Thanks to his skills, he undertook a rapid social rise, and in 1815 he became an artillery lieutenant. Avitabile fought in several Napoleonic battles, where he distinguished himself. However, with the end of Napoleon's dream and the reconquest of the Kingdom of Naples by the Bourbons in 1815, for the Napolitan soldiers there was not much choice. According to the Treaty of Casalanza, they had to swear allegiance to the Bourbons and join their army. Many of them, however, including Avitabile, refused. But the revolution, in all its forms, had just brutally ended. Avitabile was forced to reintegrate into the Army of the Two Sicilies. The situation for him must have been unbearable, and just a year and a half later, at 26 years old, he gathered little money and resigned from the Army of the Two Sicilies to embark for America. An adventure, however, is not such without unexpected events. The ship that was carrying him sank, and Avitabile was shipwrecked in Marseille, France, where he made friends with some Napoleonic veterans who advised him to head to Istanbul, capital of the Ottoman Empire. There, he was hired by the emissaries of the Persian Shah, Fath Shah, who was then focused to modernize his army after a disastrous war against Russia. It was the real beginning of Avitabile's adventure. In Persia, he worked as a military instructor for 6 years, during which he learned Parsi and Arabic. We don't have a lot of news of him from his Persian experience, but surely for him his Persian years must have been intense, as he was decorated with the Order of the Lion and the Sun and reached the rank of Khan, dealing with the collection of taxes in the province of Kurdistan on the behalf of Shah. Nevertheless, Avitabile aspired to something better, and after a quick return to Naples in 1827, he was back in Asia. This time, however, the destination was far more distant and exotic than Persia. He headed in fact to India, precisely to Punjab. There, Maharajah Ranjit Singh was involved in the creation of the Sikh empire, and the reform of the army was part of his plans, having the dream of turning the already feared and renowned Sikh soldiers into India's deadliest war machine. Ranjit Singh Empire already employed two other Napoleonic veterans, both of them veterans of the Battle of Waterloo and colleagues of Avitabile in Persia, the French Jean-François Ayard and the Italian Rubino Ventura. Avitabile had then a fast track to Singh court in Lahore, where he began to train the troops of the Maharaja, making himself known for the harshness and efficiency of his methods. However, the real turning point in Avitabile's life happened in December 1829, when the Maharaja appointed him governor of a vast and problematic area west of Punjab, namely the province of Khyber, which had been recently conquered from the Afghans of Dost Muhammad Khan. For centuries, that region was the gateway to India and mandatory pass of the Silk Road. Its being a crossroad resulted also in it being a prey to continuous religious tensions as Muslims, Hindus and Sikhs coexisted in it. Moreover, it was constantly troubled by the Pashtun guerrillas, the local ethnic group that has always been very little inclined to accept any kind of foreign domination. And British, Soviets and Americans will learn it at their expense in the decades and centuries to come. The situation there was made even worse by the interest that both England and Russia recently have shown for their region. The Khyber was in fact one of the territories that staged in the 19th century one of the most expensive and fascinating diplomatic and espionage matches in history, called the Great Game. Avitabile accepted the challenge and established his government in Wazirabad, a small village which he completely rebuilt according to Western standards, contributing also with personal projects to the constructions of canals, defense walls, schools and an efficient road network. After demonstrating his skills, in 1835 he was appointed governor of Peshawar, with the task of suppressing all kinds of revolts and finally taming the Pashtuns. Avitabile did not hesitate any longer and organized a vast counter-guerrilla warfare in the Khyber valleys, wisely using light troops and mountain artillery, both created and trained by him. Thus, he managed to repeatedly beat the Pashtuns. His actions, conducted with an uncommon rigidity, often resulted in the total destruction of mountain villages, deportation of entire populations, killing of livestock, and burning of entire valleys to flush out the rebels and damage crops. The effectiveness of Avitabile's action must have been so profound that even today the character of Abu Tabela, nickname by which he was known by local populations, is the villain of many Pashtun folk tales. But also, the order inside the city was kept with rigor and brutal methods. British sources report that Avitabile took total freedom in jurisdiction, ruling with an iron fist and managing the trials personally. Impalements and limb amputations were common, as was the more or less legitimate extermination of entire family clans. Apparently, his motto was, "For each crime, a head." British officer William Barr, in his Journal of a March from Delhi to Peshawar, wrote of how, upon entering the city, one could always encounter corpses on public display. Barr's fellow soldier Henry Montgomery Lawrence, in his Adventures of an Officer in Punjab, described the General Avitabile as a savage among savages, who added summary executions to the traditional punishment list. Avitabile had the minaret of the Mahabad Khan Mosque in Peshawar modified to become a stepping stone for those sentenced to death. A popular story recalls how one of these once managed to cling to the ledge and shouted that Allah had miraculously saved him, so the two executioners couldn't catch him. Avitabile, to resolve that situation, agreed to momentarily grant the grace to that man. Once he was brought to his attention, he ordered to throw him down again from the minaret, declaring that Allah forgives, Avitabile no. However, beyond the individual brutal episodes, which will help build the dark legend of Abu Tabela and which are difficult to prove due to the lack of sources, it must be admitted that, according to the witnesses, such harshness was the only way to maintain order and peace in that region. The famous explorer and spy Alexander Burns, who died assassinated by the Afghans in 1841, portrayed Avitabile as a harsh and repressive governor, but also ingenious, gifted with extreme practical sense, and much more merciful than one might imagine, whose methods guaranteed peace and serenity throughout the Khyber area. However, demon or not, Avitabile was a great convenience to the top of the British government. Throughout the First Anglo-Afghan War that lasted from 1839 till 1843, the Napoleon general provided important aid to the expedition of General William Elphinstone. Avitabile, often acting on his own initiative, transformed Peshawar into a logistical base for the ongoing war, providing expert guides, up-to-date maps, ammunition and financial aid. As evidenced by the numerous British military reports, readable in the collection of the British Parliament called Papers Relating Military Operations in Afghanistan, Avitabile provided soldiers and support of all kinds. During the bloodiest phases of Elphinstone's expedition, Avitabile gave even the order to escort with 400 of his own cavalry the British supplies heading to Jalalabad, Afghanistan, without the Sikh government in Lahore even being informed of the matter. All this commitment earned him a certain British gratitude, which Avitabile was able to exploit immediately. Just as the struggle for the succession to the Sikh throne raged following the death of Ranjit Singh, Avitabile, as well as his colleague Rubino Ventura, realized that perhaps the conditions were no longer there to continue to be mercenaries in Punjab. With a large credit transfer from the Bank of England, Avitabile returned to Italy and bought an estate in his hometown, Agerola. In 1846, the return of Avitabile to the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies, about which there is not much news, was not idyllic. Although decorated and promoted to general by King Ferdinand II of Bourbon, Avitabile was a stranger in his homeland, far from worldly and political life. However, the accumulated fortunes allowed him to create an efficient farm. Suddenly, in 1850, Avitabile died under unclear circumstances. For years, people talk about his death, guessing at poisoning by his young wife, married after his return to Italy. Of course, if it were true, the ending of Avitabile's life would be paradoxical. In fact, he escaped battles, adventurous travels, diseases, and power struggles between Maharajas to finally die poisoned by his last love.